Welcome to another round of Master Phil in your corner. This is episode number 123. Yes, that's 123. And we're going to get into some really heavy stuff today. I got a special guest on, great friend of mine, but he's a first-time offender here. So, after we do our shameless plugs, we're going to give a big welcome. So, we have the philross.com. Don't forget to check out philross.com for all your needs of self-defense, fitness, strength. Our goal here is to teach people strength, self-defense, and self-reliance. We want to help people live better longer. Also, be sure to check out my new book, A Guide to Street Survival and Strength. And that's available on Amazon or on the philross.com site or the survivalstrong.philross.com. And, just to let you know, tomorrow I leave for an appearance on Beta Block's Amazon Prime show. So I'll be competing with others in an entrepreneurial competition reality show. And I'll be putting forth the Bodybell method, which is the world's only kettlebell, body weight, and dynamic tension system that is recognized by ACE and NASM for continuing education credits. Without further ado, let us welcome my very good friend, Paul Wiegartener. Now, let me give a little background. Penn State wrestler. He was an accounting degree and a minor in business law. He is an attorney from Fordham Law School, and he was in the FBI for 24 years. And, he's got all kinds of accolades, special duty, assistant prosecutor, criminal defense attorney. He's been all around law enforcement and the law and both sides of it. And so, Paul, tell us, welcome to the show.
Well, it's great to be here with you, Phil. When we first talked about doing this about 2 weeks ago, man, the world has changed a lot. So it may change the focus of what we're going to do. But I did decide to wear the sleeveless today because you came down about 6 weeks ago and you put me through a kettlebell workout. And since then, I've been getting a lot of compliments from the ladies. They're noticing the difference. And, I figured I'd sport the sleeveless today. So I appreciate what you've done for me.
Oh, man, my pleasure.
And your method is great. I'm 60 years old, not the same guy. I used to be a lot of injuries. And the stuff that you showed me and that I've been working on really is tremendous. And I don't hurt myself the way I do and try to do flat bench and stupid things like that to feed my ego. So I really appreciate what you've done for me, and I want to let you know that the ladies are noticing. So thank you.
Awesome. Oh, just to let you know on that, I just filmed last week. Your bench press is BS, and I have there's 12 different exercises going to be posted up online as soon as they're done in editing, but very shortly. So we're going to have more information to help you build that without bench pressing.
So. Awesome, great. So when we first talked about, I think when we first talked about doing this is right when the Supreme Court immunity ruling had just come out.
Yes.
I have a lot of feelings on that because there was a lot of hyperbolic speech on MSNBC, CNBC, all over Facebook about that. Oh, he makes Trump into a dictator and all that. And I had some thoughts on that. The biggest of which is that's always been the law, and it has to be the law. Because if you look at someone like, say, Barack Obama, very famously ordered the assassination, essentially, of an American citizen, some like 18-year-old kid that was supposedly involved in terrorism, and they hit him with a drone strike while he was in, I think it was Yemen or the Sudan, and a lot of people had a real problem with that. He's an American citizen. He wasn't charged with a crime. You just decided he's a terrorist, and you nuked him.
Yeah.
But if you look at it objectively, and I didn't like it myself, if you start prosecuting presidents for making decisions that affect the security of the country, they're going to second guess themselves. And that's why there's always been an immunity for a president for official acts. The reason it's never come up before is because no subsequent administration in 240 years has ever tried to prosecute their predecessors. And a lot of them committed a lot of things that could certainly be considered crimes. Challenging an election in court, maybe not one of them, but they decided that was a crime.
Yeah.
So that was our original focus, what we wanted to talk about. But so much has happened.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
If you'll indulge me, I think we should jump back to how we got here.
Yeah.
I have a lot of strong opinions on how we got here because as an FBI agent, and when I was Special Assistant U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of New York, working very closely with Loretta Lynch, who I actually thought was a fantastic, bright woman. I thought she had a lot of integrity. I'm not sure I feel the same way now, but I dealt a lot with classified information. I was responsible for it. I was on a joint terrorism task force for 5 years. So every briefing we got was classified. Toward the end of my career, I worked in an undercover capacity where everything we got was above top secret. There are levels of secret, and you have, law enforcement use only, and then there's secret, and you have top secret. And the definitions of these are like top secret, the disclosure of which would cause grave harm to the national security of the United States. That's what top secret is. And then there's stuff that's above that that's called SCI, secret compartmentalized information. And those are special programs that you have to be read into. And I dealt with those every day. And I know from a fact from the Hillary Clinton email investigation that she had stuff that was SCI level on her private server. And we want to talk about this private server and how we got there is Hillary Clinton was named Secretary of State when Barack Obama became president. That means she's dealing with foreign governments every day. Her whole job is to represent the United States around the world. At the same time, and there were a lot of questions about it even during her confirmation, there is the Clinton Foundation, which raises a lot of money for their different pet projects. I know there was a New York Post article that said that supposedly Chelsea's wedding was paid for the Clinton. I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure the sourcing on that. Don't want to get sued, but there's a lot of money that came in the Clinton Foundation, and a lot of that money was foreign money. For instance, it's very well known. Bill Clinton did a 15-minute speech in Moscow and got paid $500,000 for it.
I remember
Russia. So there was a lot of questioning during her confirmation, like, hey, what's going on with the Clinton Foundation? You can't be getting money from foreign sources. It's at the very least an appearance of impropriety. And she promised that we're not going to do that. We're going to be transparent. But instead, she set up a private server to avoid the Freedom of Information Act laws and all the other laws of disclosure. And she had some private company come in and said, and famously, it was in some guy's bathroom in the basement somewhere. And she communicated with people, including Barack Obama, who had his own alias email, which is maybe one of the reasons she wasn't prosecuted. He didn't have a private server, but he had an email account that was designed to communicate covertly to get around the disclosure laws, like the Freedom of Information Act and the transparency we're supposed to have from our elected officials. So finally, the Inspector General of the intelligence community finds out about this. It's his job to oversee all this. Appointed by Barack Obama, close personal friend of mine, Charles McCullough, and I used to work with him in the FBI when we were both in the legal unit in New York together. And he starts looking into it, and he discovers, wow, there's all this classified information that she has. And she has a private server. So he makes a criminal referral to the FBI. Absolutely the right thing to do. The FBI assigns a number of people, including Peter Strzok, to the investigation, and we're off to the races. What happens then is that Bill Clinton has a tarmac meeting with Loretta Lynch in Arizona. The two planes happen to be near each other by coincidence, and he runs to talk to Loretta Lynch. Now, this is where I have a problem with her because, like, I really liked her. She was a great boss. She's a brilliant woman. She went to Harvard Law School, African American woman. Totally 100% qualified to be Attorney General. But there's no way they were talking about their grandchildren, which is what they both came out of the meeting and said. And I don't blame her because he's the one who apparently ran, from all accounts, he ran over there and kind of surprised her. Hey, how you doing? This Bill, how you doing? Hey, and all of the rumor in government. I'm sorry?
That was a good Bill Clinton.
Yeah. I do a very good Bill Clinton. So what happened from the fallout of that, what everyone says really happened. I've talked to some people that were very close to the situation, that they claim happened is that she was essentially promised, and this is all rumor, fact. I don't want to, like I said, this is out there. But if you believe they were talking about their grandchildren, I have some property down here in the Everglades to sell you. So is that she was promised a Supreme Court nomination. She's a brilliant woman. She's African American. She was the former Attorney General. She's a shoo-in. There's no way she's not getting confirmed. Hillary, hey, if I win, we're probably going to get at least a couple more appointments. They ended up being 3 during that next 4 years.
Yeah.
And you're going to be tops of my list, or tops of Hillary's list. That's what is allegedly, and common sense I would submit to you is very likely what happened.
Yeah.
But somebody, perhaps some honest Secret Service agent or someone leaked the meeting to the press, and then it was a big deal. Then it was, oh no, we were talking about our grandchildren. I just want to say hello to Loretta. She's such a great lady. No, come on. You leave your plane, you take your security detail, you walk across, you shut down the airport for 20 minutes so you could go. Yeah, they were talking about their grandchildren.
Yeah.
So the fallout of that is that she totally abdicates her responsibility. She's the Attorney General. She's the one who decides who gets prosecuted or not. If there's an appearance of impropriety, she rightly recused herself. Give it to a deputy. Say, hey, you have total independence. I'm not going to second guess you. No, she gives it to the FBI. The FBI has an investigative agency. They don't decide who gets prosecuted, who doesn't get prosecuted, but they give it to Jim Comey. So it's right. Oh, Comey's now the guy, and he comes out, initially with this. I'm trying to make sure I use the right word, because the statute, the Espionage Act, does not require specific intent, which was totally there. I mean, the whole reason for this server is to avoid disclosure things.
Oh, yeah.
She said, well, I didn't know there was nothing classified. What happened was some of her aides, like Huma Abedin, who just married Soros' son, by the way. Huma Abedin, or maybe his nephew, but anyway, Huma Abedin was Hillary Clinton's very, very close aide. They were tied at the hip. And really? She was also to Anthony Weiner, who was running for New York mayor at the time.
Yeah.
And what happened is some of her aides, like Huma Abedin, would read the stuff off of the Secretary of State's email, the classified information, and they would retype it, and they'd retype it onto their own Gmail or whatever fake account she set up on her server, the Hillary Clinton's.com server, and they'd send it to her so she could read it and everything like that. And there were reports also, published reports that she did have a SCIF in her house, which is a secret compartmentalized information facility. It's basically a cold room that no cell phones are allowed in there, no electronics or devices are allowed in there other than the equipment that's in there. It's completely secure so that you can read information that's at those highest security levels without worrying about if someone looking in the window, did someone bug me here? It's a completely secure room, a SCIF. As Secretary of State, she had a SCIF in her residence. They put one in there for her. There were published reports that she didn't like to take things off of the fax machine that was in there. It was just too much of a pain in the ass for her to walk her fat butt over there. And so what she would do is she would send her maid, who was from Guatemala. There's a famous picture on the front page of the Post about this. And say, oh, go get me that fax. Well, people might not think a lot of that, but her maid's not cleared for that. You don't know what she's doing. Very famously, Dianne Feinstein, who just passed away, who also was a brilliant woman, by the way. I've met her a couple of times. I met her at my friend Chuck McCullough's confirmation hearings, which I went to. I didn't love her politics. Actually voted for her when I was a California resident, because I thought she did a really good job as mayor of San Francisco, and she ran for Senate against a rhino. But Dianne Feinstein, it was reported, had a driver for years that turned out was, and she was the chairman of the intelligence community. She had a driver for years who was a Chinese spy. So you don't know if your maid is, these people have to be vetted, cleared. But besides that, you can't allow them access to things that they're not supposed to have access to. That's why there's a vetting process.
Yep, for your eyes.
But Bill Clinton did all that. And it came out, and Comey famously declined to prosecute her. He said that she was trying to get the right word. She was extremely careless, I think, something like that. the Espionage Act, which is the act of classified information that you allow access to foreign actors and all, doesn't require specific intent. Meaning, I know you're a spy, Phil. You know, you're giving me money or something. I'm going to give this to you. That's specific intent. I want to give this to you. But if I just leave it lying around so you can read it, you know, and I didn't do it on purpose, but I was reckless about it. I was grossly negligent. That's enough to get prosecuted. Any E4 in the Navy who left shit lying around and somebody had access to it, they're getting prosecuted to the fullest extent. She absolutely 100% did that. And Comey, like his initial draft of his speech exonerating her, it said something that she was, I think it used the words grossly negligent. And then someone tapped him on the shoulder and said, yo, dude, you know, like you can't say that if you're going to decline because that fits. So he changed it to like extremely careless, which is the same freaking thing. So that's the backdrop of how this is a long way to back into the Russia collusion, but this is how it started. So now there's tremendous pressure against about Hillary, and she needs to distract from it. So she goes out and her campaign hires this firm, Fusion GPS, has a number of, it's a spook firm in Washington, D.C. They do all sorts of opposition research. And she hires Fusion GPS to conduct opposition research on Trump. One of the people Fusion GPS hires is this guy, Christopher Steele. He's a former MI6, he's a British spy, he's a foreign spy. Yeah. Now, retired. Now I know, supposedly the British may be more of a friendly intelligence agency to us, but he's a foreign actor, a foreign spy. They actually hire a foreign spy to conduct research on their opponent. That's what the Hillary Clinton campaign does through Fusion GPS. And they come up with this Steele dossier, the P-tape, and all of which Steele himself, who had been an FBI informant at one point, but apparently they had canned him because he lacked certain credibility. Wow. He comes up with all this, and immediately it gets leaked to all the press. I remember Joe Scarborough on there talking about Trump getting peed on. The guy's a freaking germaphobe. He won't shake hands. Like you think he's letting some Russian hookers pee on him? He's also not an idiot. So he's gonna know, that they're gonna be spying on him. Also, all that stuff's leaked, and everybody runs with it. Just kind of denigrating him and all. And but then what happens is the FBI, they're investigating the child porn case against Anthony Weiner, who's running for mayor, to drop out of the race. Yuma Abedin's husband. Lo and behold, they take his laptop. On his laptop is a backup of all of the emails that Hillary Clinton sent to Yuma Abedin. Thousands of classified. She'll to this day say there was nothing classified on it. She's a freaking bold-faced liar. There was. I know that for a fact. So there's classified information all over that. And now what is the FBI going to do? Now it's even more stuff, and it's even more reckless. And not only did Yuma Abedin have it, her husband, who's having phone sex with 15-year-olds and taking pictures of himself with a boner while he's lying in bed with his son. He's got access to that, and who knows how he's compromised. You don't think that foreign actors try to dig up ever dirt they can on anybody? Bookies are known to send, prostitutes, male and female, into NBA people, and they'll try to get them in compromising positions so they can shave points. You don't think the Russians and the Chinese do the same thing? So this is the backdrop, and that now the FBI has this laptop. Oh no, what are we going to do with it? They sit on it for weeks. They do nothing. And the only reason it finally came out from my sources that I find very reliable is because there were NYPD guys who were on the task force there, and the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and they said, you don't do something with this shit, we will. We're gonna leak it. We got sources in the New York Post. Pardon for your podcast viewers, my language. So then that comes out, and then it's there's no way they can go through thousands and thousands of emails in like 3 weeks before the election. Somehow they managed to do it, and Comey gives out that speech, which Hillary Clinton to this day blames the loss of the election on Comey's speech at the end, where he just rips into her, lays out elements of 45 crimes that she's committed, and then says, but we're not going to prosecute her because, which is not his call anyway. It's the Attorney General's, but she already recused herself because Bill Clinton met with her and promised her, she would be in the Supreme Court. This is how this is the origin of Russian collusion. I think it's very important for people to understand that. Yeah. And most people don't. No. So then what happens is now, oh my God, he wins. Now what the hell are we going to do? So Barack Obama, I thought it was very strange at the time when you think something's off you should always trust your instincts. If you're walking into an elevator with somebody or walking down the street, something doesn't feel right, your subconscious mind is more accurate sometimes than, perceives things that you don't consciously perceive.
Yes.
So Bill Clinton Barack Obama issued a series of executive orders,
Yep.
putting major sanctions on Russia. And he didn't do it supposedly because they interfered with the election. Now, Hillary been screaming they're interfering with the election before the election. But don't sanction them before the election. Let's sanction them after, when it really doesn't matter, and when I'm getting out of office in a month and a half. And in the backdrop of that, they start the crossfire hurricane, Trump's a Russian spy investigation. And Comey, and I know this is not a 14-hour broadcast, but I just have to digress.
Well, I'll tell you this. You know what? I think we're gonna do a part 1 and part 2 today.
Okay, we can do that. You have to back up to Trump's inauguration. Yeah. The Million Woman March against Trump. He hasn't even had a chance to get sworn in yet. And there's I think there was reportedly like 200,000 women in their million men. There's thousands of people protesting him, screaming horrible epithets about him, and, including Madonna talking about blowing up the White House.
How is that not a crime?
Yeah. Johnny Depp, when's the last time that an actor assassinated the president? This is before he's done a damn thing. So, he hasn't had a chance to, subvert democracy or whatever other stuff they're talking about. This is the stuff they were saying then. And Comey's wife and daughter went to the march. He's admitted that later on. So that is, if I'm the FBI director, you've met my wife. I have very little control over what she does. Yeah. If she was going to do something that put my job in appearance, you're not doing it, and she wouldn't do it.
Right.
My child wouldn't do that. So they just listen, I get you don't like the guy. I'm the FBI director. I work for him. You can't do that. Any business person, if Amy went out, your wife, beautiful wife, Amy, if she went out and was slamming your boss somewhere, that's not so good for you. No. And everybody knows that. So, but anyway, so they're at the march. The march happens, and then the crossfire hurricane case starts. The case agent on the case, by the way, I think his name is Bill Barnett, I believe. I think
you're correct. I think you're correct.
He's come out and said he thought there was no predication for the case. He said that in congressional terms. I never thought there was a case there, but they told me there was, and so they send General Flynn. You have to talk about who Mike Flynn is.
Yeah.
Trump picks Mike Flynn to be his national security advisor. Now, national security advisor is the one person that's sitting there that's supposed to advise the president on all of the most serious. It's the person with the expertise. President Trump's a real estate developer. He's the guy who says, "Hey, listen, this is what's going on in the world. This is what's important. This is what I recommend you do." He's the one who has to communicate with all of his counterparts all around the world. Mm-hmm. Now, Michael Flynn is the incoming, they're in a transition. He's about to be the national security director. Yeah. And every day, Barack Obama is issuing some new executive order, putting sanctions on Russia and escalating tensions with Russia. So Michael Flynn talks to his Russian counterparts. Mm-hmm. And essentially, although I don't think the transcripts were ever released, what's alleged to have been talked about is listen, guys, just we're going to be in office in a month and a half. Don't do anything. Don't get too excited. We'll sit down. We'll talk about all this stuff at that time. Just chill out. That's his job to do that. The policies are going to change. We're going to review these sanctions, see if they're warranted. Just don't retaliate now. Yeah. Wait a month. Wait till January 20th. So that's the conversation allegedly takes place, right? So Jim Comey decides to, and this is allegedly. John Brennan, not the brilliant late Supreme Court justice, but the CIA director who admits to voting for the Communist Party in 1980 instead of Ronald Reagan, voted for Gus Hall, I believe it was. So he's in a meeting allegedly with Barack Obama. I'm not sure who else was there, probably Hillary. I'm not sure, but I know Joe Biden supposedly in that meeting, and they're like, okay, what can we do? Let's go, hit up General Flynn because they don't like General Flynn because Flynn is a conservative and he is a dog. He is going to march no matter what, and where he's going to go, and they have some liability here. She had a private server. Barack Obama emailed with her from his private server. God knows what else they were doing as far as money. You see what Biden's doing. I've never heard any allegations against Obama, but he never made more than, as a president, he made 400,000. As a senator, I think he made 180. As a community organizer, he made like 50 grand. He's got like a $70 million house in Martha's Vineyard, and I don't know, but in any case, so they send some people. This meeting's taking place, and they're saying, "What are we going to do about General Flynn?" And it's supposedly Joe Biden who comes up with it. What about the Logan Act? So the Logan Act is an act in a parliamentary system like England has. There's basically a shadow government. There's a whole system set up. You have the party in power, but the party that's not in power has like their own Secretary of State, their own stuff, and they're basically operating in the background. And our founding fathers thought that was a really bad idea. And sometime they passed this Logan Act that said there's one government at a time, and you can't have this shadow government. You can't be reaching out to foreign countries on behalf of the United States. There's one representing the United States, that's Secretary of State or her delegates, and not the opposing party. There were two prosecutions in the 240 years of our government for the Logan Act. 1802, and I think the other one was 1852. Both were acquittals. No one's ever been. Now maybe Joe Biden remembers it because he was around in 1802, that he was someone that actually knew about the Logan Act. So that's the pretext to send a couple agents over to talk to General Flynn. And they say he lied. And, I don't know what he did. I don't know what he remembered. They say he lied. They prosecuted him for it. That was the whole beginning of, we're going to bring down Trump. We got his national security advisor. And then it just escalated from there with the Mueller investigation. Now, you talk about the recent Supreme Court case, Justice Thomas's concurring opinion in the immunity case, where he said, well, wait a minute, the special counsel in documents case, there's no authority in the government, there's no authority in statute or the Constitution to appoint this guy. Yeah. And the judge in Florida agreed with him and threw out the case. Mm-hmm. Just like yesterday or the day before. Yeah, that reasoning, Mueller's appointment is illegal. What's happened, there used to be a special counsel statute that would give the attorney general power to appoint someone to be the special prosecutor, special counsel. They let that statute expire because they thought it was very abused, and they just, if your job is to get somebody and you don't have another job, he's your own, you're going to try to get him. So they let the special counsel start, and there wasn't another one. So they had a practice, and it was done in a number of cases, including Trump looking into the origins of the Russia investigation, appointed the U.S. attorney from, I think he was from Connecticut, to look into that. But you can do that because he's a U.S. attorney. He's been confirmed by the Senate. There's a whole process. Right. The president appoints them. They have to go through a confirmation process. They got to get 51 votes out of a bipartisan Senate. They've been vetted at that point. And as a U.S. attorney, as a sitting U.S. attorney, the attorney general has the authority to assign him any case he wants. All right, you're the U.S. attorney for Connecticut. I want you to do this other case over here because this is really important. That I think it wouldn't be, I don't think Justice Thomas or anyone else has a problem with that type of appointment. No. But the special counsel for the Trump investigation here was Jack Smith, was a private citizen. He worked like I think he worked in The Hague and the International Criminal Courts and stuff. He was a private citizen. He also has a bad track record. Where he had another case where he prosecuted, I think it was a Maryland governor, so one of those, he was reversed 9-0 by the Supreme Court for prosecutorial abuses. So they assigned him to do this case. And that's kind of where the origins of the lawfare. Essentially, that's how we got here. Yeah. And now you talk about other things that have happened. Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, her whole platform while running for office, trying to get, I'm going to get Trump. Now, at that point, she hadn't looked at any of his business records. She doesn't know anything other than, she doesn't like his politics. She just thinks he's a bad guy, but I'm going to get Trump. She ran on that. That's un-American. If you run on a platform, I'm going to get Phil Ross. That's my platform. I don't like kettlebells. I think they're destroying my Nautilus business, and I'm going to get Phil Ross. That's un-American, but she ran on that platform. Alvin Bragg, very similarly, ran on another platform. We're going to get him. We're going to get him. He's going to think about my name every day. And the same thing in Georgia in the election interference case. So very, very briefly, I'm going to talk on all four of those cases. So in New York, it was an alleged campaign violation, a federal crime, not a state crime. Right. U.S. Attorney's Office had already looked at it and declined. They decided, Joe Biden's U.S. Attorney's Office had already decided, and his department just already decided this is not prosecutable. But allegedly, this payment to the non-disclosure agreement to Stormy Daniels was a violation of a campaign because they listed it as a legal expense. You have a hire a lawyer, tell the lawyer to come up with a non-disclosure, and you call it a legal expense. I don't know, what else would you call it? But they say that's potentially a campaign violation. If it is, it's a misdemeanor, which the statute of limitations had long since expired, because in New York, I think it's 2 years. In Jersey, it's only 1 for misdemeanors. Yeah. So the statute of limitations had long since expired, but they resurrected because if you commit one crime, one business record crime, to cover up another crime, that can be elevated to a felony, and there's 6-year statute of limitations on felonies, so they can bring it back, which is what they do, right? So they charge them with 34 felonies, essentially for an expired misdemeanor that's already gone away. And I think that trial was covered very extensively. I wanted to get into it a lot, but there were 3 potential crimes that formed the predicate to make this misdemeanor a felony. Mm-hmm. And a judge told the jury, you don't have to be unanimous on which one it is, which is antithetical to everything I know about the law and my 30 years experience in my law school. You have to be unanimous on each and every element of a crime. And if an element of the crime is you committed a prior crime, this misdemeanor crime that makes it a felony, you have to be unanimous. But they said, well, no, as long as you committed one of those. So 4 people could think he committed this one crime and 4 people committed this other crime, and 4 on that one, and then which makes no sense. So that case I think is brought for reasons on for appeal. But that's the essence of that case. But very important, Hillary Clinton, as we get back to her, because she's the origins of all of this, she really is. Hillary Clinton paid Christopher Steele a lot more money than they paid Stormy Daniels through her campaign, a foreign spy, and for opposition research, which doesn't come close. Very arguably, Trump's payment is a legal expense, but hiring an opposition research team is not.
Yeah, and how about the Clintons? Bill Clinton paid off what was his name? Was it Paula or?
No, I think it was Monica Lewinsky. They paid off Paula Jones too. I know.
Paula Jones, he paid her $800,000.
Yeah. But that's where did that money come from? But Bill Clinton was famously broke when they left the White House, according to him and Hillary. You get back to what she did with that. Within the last 10 days, the Federal Election Commission just fined her campaign because they listed that as a legal expense. You saw me. You're a Facebook friend of mine. I posted a picture of Alvin the Chipmunk saying, "Alvin, what are you going to do now?" Because her campaign is headquartered in New York, and it's the exact same crime he just prosecuted Trump for. But that's neither here nor there. So the classified documents case. Let's talk about the double standard. The president is the ultimate classification authority. As president, I decide what's classified. I decide what's not. If no one's ever going to elect me, but the president is the one who decides what's classified.
Yes.
There are laws that have been passed to try to regulate how it's done and how the handling of classified information by subordinates. But ultimately, the president can say, you know what, I don't think this is classified anymore, and it's not. Vice president does not have that authority. Neither does anybody else. So Trump took a lot of documents with him to Mar-a-Lago. Apparently, some of them were classified. He said, well, I declassified them. There's no record of him declassifying. I get that. Well, if I just think about it, there's an argument whether or not you're right about that. But he has him in Mar-a-Lago, locked up, surrounded by Secret Service agents. And, they haven't talked much about what he took, But a lot of what they say took is documents on Iran and Ukraine,
Yeah.
which are stuff that's kind of documenting the other side's corruption. It's very clear now how much money the Bidens took from Ukraine. And as far as the Iran deal, which they're very anxious to get back into, which makes no sense. We flew when Barack Obama was president. I forget the exact amount. I think it was 1.2 billion. It was some ridiculous amount of money.
It was 1.5, but
okay. They put it on a C-130 in cash.
I know.
And not just American dollars. They did euros. They did other denominations. And they flew it over to Iran to pay off all the mullahs so that they would release some hostages, which, that doesn't embolden people, whatever.
No, not at all.
But and he did it without congressional approval. Like I thought Congress is the one who decides how money is spent.
This stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
But we have to we're gonna stop it here. We're gonna have part 2. So
okay. All right.
Close out here, then we're gonna have part 2.
But as a closing statement, I'm gonna say all the lawfare failed. The cases have fallen apart. So now they shot him.
Exactly. So now we're gonna get into that. Okay, awesome. So guys, don't forget, we're gonna do part 2 will be episode 124. See you soon. Strength and honor.
Thank you, Phil.